So hello, it's Yannis Karakassis, 50 Great Greek Wines live Instagram. The grand finale today of our first 10 Greek wine talks. And I'm very excited that we have as a guest today my dear friend from Poland, Wojciech Bońkowski. Let's have Wojciech in the discussion. Wojciech.
Kalimera, kalispera.
Kalispera. We need to have it the other way around a little bit.
Okay, good. Like this? Better?
Yeah,
okay.
That's better. That's better. That's fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Very happy to see you, Yannis.
Likewise. And before we start the discussion, Wojciech, can you place the camera a little bit further? Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Fantastic. Let me do the introduction, because Wojciech wears many hats. So I'm not going to cover all of them, but you can do that. He's one of the leading voices in Poland, a wine writer for Ferment, a magazine that you established with two friends, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You organize a wine show with a crazy name that I cannot pronounce. Help me with that.
We do the Warsaw Wine Experience, and we hope to make it the biggest wine fair in Europe this year, because all the other ones are cancelled.
Okay, and how about the wine medium with this?
Viniciativa is our website, so it's like the brother.
Okay.
It's the brother medium from Ferment.
Viniciativa.
Yeah.
I almost was there. Okay.
Great.
Of course, you're a judge for Decanter. You're finishing your research paper on the Master of Wine program, hopefully. And of course, you're a passionate supporter of Greek wine, as far as I know, with a lot of knowledge on this subject.
Absolutely, since many years. Before it was cool.
Before it was, okay. And the years, you're talking about which years now?
Well, I can tell you my first bottle of Greek wine that I remember, I took a tasting note on it, was in probably 1997. It was Chateau Claus. Can you believe it? It was from Achaia Claus winery. It was a red blend. I think it's a Bordeaux blend, but I'm not quite sure what grapes were in it.
I've never tasted a dry wine.
It was actually quite a cool wine for the price. I remember I was buying this in a supermarket here in Poland. It was my daily wine. I had a lot of this wine. They were selling the 93, so it was a 4-year-old wine. And I remember I stocked up on it because it was showing a character that I really like, even to this day, even though the times have changed so much. This sort of old world, very dry, very
rustic,
vinous,
a little bit.
Rustic, high acid, a little raspy tannin, great food wine. It's like the also really good Barbera used to be before they started over oaking it and making it late harvest, high alcohol. So I really liked the feel of this wine, even though this might maybe not the wine that you associate with the Achaia Claus winery, and it's probably not really a super top quality winery for many wine lovers today. But it was a classic in those days, and remember I was excited also by the fact that it was Greek. But I also like Retsina in those days, and I think it's still somewhat an underrated drink. I think it's a great food drink, and it goes great with the local food. And I'm loving some of the revamped modern versions that are coming up on the market at the moment.
Before we start things rolling, what do you think is the explanation behind the rising reputation of Greek wine on these days, nowadays?
I think Greece is sexy. The Greeks are born pessimists, and they are always over-criticizing themselves. I'm sorry, Yannis, maybe not you, but I think, it's the mood sometimes when you go to Greece is gloom. And I think Greece is actually a super attractive, super sexy country. The landscapes are fabulous, but also I think today we are coming to the conclusion, we are finally realizing that actually culture is sexy and heritage is sexy and complexity is sexy. And I think finally it is helping countries like Greece with this amazing diversity of landscapes and vines and wines. sometimes from a market point of view, you were being told it's overcomplicated. Simplify the message, think about the market, who you want to reach. And I'm happy to see that at the moment, I think it's a reversal of the trend. The consumers are actually looking to actually understand those wine producing countries with their complexities, such as Greece. And Greece, of course, has got more heritage and more culture and more complexity and more depth than many, many other countries, maybe than any other country.
That's interesting, the oxymoron you're describing, the complexity of the country and trying to simplify the message. I think it's fascinating, the way that you stated your argument. And on a personal note, Wojciech, what things do they excite you about Greek wine?
Well, I'm excited by complexity. This is why I'm referring to this, because I don't think I'm isolated in this. I'm excited today by countries and regions that are showing this complexity. They have more to offer than just a single variety or a single style. And I think we're moving beyond those very simple associations, like, just an example, Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. And even within New Zealand, you see that there are many, many more diverse styles coming up. And so people have the choice. And in Greece, I think what's really fascinating is that there is a surprise around every corner. And there might be sometimes styles that I like more or less. For example, today we've just had a delivery of a new arrival on the Polish market, which is the Tramithos winery from Patras. And, they're natural wines and macerated and amphora white wines, which aren't necessarily my favorite style of wine that I drink every day, but I'm really curious to look at those new vintages of this exciting winery. And then tomorrow I might have a Robola from Kefalonia, and then the day after it's going to be actually Xenomora is today, because I have a very lovely bottle of Thimiopoulos.
I can see it's a
this is the Alta. This is the Alta 2016. 15. I still had an older vintage, so I'm really loving this wine at the moment, tasting it with you live. And then tomorrow it might be a Bordeaux blend or an oak Chardonnay. So I think there is this diversity of styles, including some which are very unique. So this is a strong point for Greece, because you always have something that you can't find anywhere else. And I think this is really exciting me, and the perpetuous state of flux. I think I was listening to your other talks with the other guys here on Instagram Live, and I was thinking, it's great to talk about tradition and authenticity and history and coming back to those historical styles and grapes and terroirs. But what's interesting, it is never still. There's always in evolution. There is always
a new revelation,
also
over time.
Innovation that is also going back to the old times. And I think this is what's really interesting, that even when we think, Greece is so much steeped in the past, you are not going back to the past, because you cannot. The past is an inspiration, but you are constantly doing new things. And I think Greece is a country that has realized this and is now making this one of its biggest strengths. And I think it's going to be a global strength for Greece as a wine country.
I think what you're describing is the rediscovery of our heritage, of our tradition, presented in a sexy way, in a message that is clear and to the point. And okay, what I'm tasting now? You're tasting a red?
I'm tasting the Thimiopoulos, which is quite an amazing wine, really, and quite a challenging wine on some ways, because of the low SO2, and it's got some animal notes and it's a bit wild.
Yeah.
But it also, I think, the lightness of touch. The lightness of touch. It's one of the lightest Xenomavros that I can remember tasted from Greece, and I really like the sort of. It's a super elegant. Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's very elegant. So let's play a dry note. This is.
Oh wow.
Okay, you don't know the wine. I can guarantee that. So it's a white wine from Greece, 100% single varietal. Okay, with aromas: lemon, smoky, fennel, good acid, medium body.
Okay, maybe Rhoditis.
Almost there.
Yes. If you're talking smoky, maybe a bit flinty, maybe Assyrtiko, but maybe the acid would be higher.
Yes, it has. You're very close. You got the first part of Robola. So it was Roditi, it was Robola, but it is a very. This is the Robola from Gentilini. 2 years on the list.
Yes.
This is a 2015. So it is the idea of the evolution that has all this smokiness and waxy character here.
Lucky you. Wow, I'd love to taste this one.
That's a very good one. Yeah, it's a fantastic wine. And what I would like to see is more Greek whites with screw caps, because everything can preserve, and it increases the aging potential of the wine. So, okay, back to our discussion. If we try to think on parallels, Greece competes with which regions, which countries do you think?
Well, you could be discussing Greece against Italy, especially southern Italy or central and southern Italy. You could, of course, be looking at a country that I think is very similar in many regards with Greece, but maybe doesn't have a global standing. But I think it's an upcoming country very much so, like Croatia, because of the diversity, the island terroirs, etc. I think globally in the styles, of course, specific styles from Greece, then you can compare, Xinoma to Nebbiolo, as is done so very often, although I often also think of some Sangiovese wines. For example, this Xinoma from Thimiopoulos in the lightness of touch reminds me more of the new wave Chianti Classicos that are coming now on the market, rather than Nebbiolo, which is more tannic than this wine. Sometimes maybe more the south of Italy, like some of the old school Negro Amaro. You could be looking at Portugal in some of the white wines. I think some of the Douro whites are similar to some of the styles that are coming up from Greece. But then, of course, you've got regions like Drama, which is maybe more a new world inspiration, taking some very renowned styles like white and red Bordeaux and reinterpreting them. And even though you would think, this is what's really interesting about Greece, even though you would think these are not really traditional wines or maybe not really authentic wines, I love some of those wines. For example, the Ovilos from Viblachora, I think, is a terrific wine, really very, very well made in the style. So you can have those slightly more commercial styles, slightly more international styles, really very well made, and they are adding to the interest because I think Greece, I'm not saying Greece is in danger of this. I wouldn't like Greece to fall into this trap. I don't think it is doing it, but it's important not to be compartmentalized into just one style. If you're looking at Georgia, for example, they are really putting all of their bets in orange wine, into orange wine, in the Kvevri amphora wine. And they are lovely wines, and they keep me the best in that style, but it is just a niche. And I think, Greece deserves to be something more than just a niche and just a curiosity. I would love Greece to be like Austria, a powerhouse on the global market, appreciated for high quality, for its super great marketing, for the clear definition of some regional styles, which is helping the communication, but it's not really limiting the complexity because you can have so much more beyond, DAC, Grüne Veltliner. That's an example, and I think it's a good inspiration if you accept it. Maybe an unexpected one for Greece, but I think I like to think of Greece as a slightly Mediterranean, romantic Austria, potentially.
Okay, I quite agree, and I've said that we need to see the example of Austria, how it has grown her reputation, and get the best out of the marketing activities and promote the message like you described. Fantastic. So, Wojciech, of course, I know that you're traveling all the time, or at least you were traveling all the time, and visiting Piemonte and lots of places like most of us are doing or enjoying doing that. Having tasting a lot of wines, and I'm pretty sure that you have tasted the best that there is out there, reds and whites. How do you compare, just being honest on that, always being honest, how do you compare a top white from Chablis, even from a top producer like Ravenot, on a Premier Cru level, not a Grand Cru, let's not talk about Grand Cru level, with the top Santorini? And how do you compare a top Nausa or a Topamindo with one of the best Barolo wines that you have tasted. Without seeing the label, that is the idea, without seeing the label.
Yeah. I think on the white wine, I think generally speaking today, the quality of white wines in Greece is more exciting than the reds, I would say generally. I think these are more engaging wines, and Santorini is a great example because it's a unique wine. It's a world-class wine. You know, the best examples have nothing to envy the Chablis. And I think there is something, there is an added value if you compare even to a Ravenot Premier Cru. I think Chablis is a great wine and Ravenot is a great example, but in a way they are slightly institutional wines. They are slightly less. They are slightly less adventurous wines. They are slightly more conservative wines. You know, and what I like about Santorini is that they can be really wild at heart. If you look at some of the more innovative styles that have come up in the last few years, you know, the long barrel aging, the late harvest, you are seeing a little bit more diversity in the styles within Santorini as compared to Chablis. Remember, there are more grapes also on Santorini. I really like Assyrtiko, but I think some of the 100% Aidanis, they are really serious wines. They're really exciting wines.
They are.
I'm thinking about Sigalas, for example. I think it's a really world-class wine. So this comparison is interesting because you have this more romantic side, more breathtaking side, more gripping side to the Santorini that you know, I don't think there is anything like an objective quality that you can really measure. It's always cultural, it's always intersubjective. But if we were comparing on equal grounds the Chablis to the Santorini, I think the Santorinis can be as precise, but they will have this sort of added, let's say, romance, if we want. Your point about the red wines is actually interesting because I taste a lot of Barolo, and it's an interesting comparison. I'm not sure it's 100% comparison between an Ausa and a Barolo. There's something slightly different to the Barolo. They are slightly more sensual wines in my view. I think there's something a little bit more austere in Xinot Mavro. In a way, it's a slightly more demanding wine. There's something a little bit more French, I would say. And you can see that also in the winemaking, you know, some of the extraction. Barolo is getting very light with the extraction at the moment. You see more and more light wines, and they are more approachable when they are young. Whereas I think, you know, some of the Nausas, they are really, really sturdy, structured wines, very age-worthy. But it's an interesting comparison. I would like to do this when they are slightly more aged. You know, Barolo, of course, the big evolution of Barolo in the last few years has been the huge critical mass of producers. There are really many, many outstanding wines there. It's not just a matter of 10 or 20 producers like a few years ago. Now there are really many more. And this is maybe what I would wish now I was showing a bit more, you know, new names, but of course it's a smaller region, generally speaking.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we talk a little bit about Poland, about the Polish market, and how Greek wine can fit in this market? Do you think there is potential for Greek wine in the Polish market?
Oh, huge potential. I think it's a very I think these are very underrepresented wines. I think the potential is here for several reasons. One is that Poland is a weird market. It is a mixture of a traditional and an emerging market. We are very Europocentric. We are very conservative in that regard. We like French wines, we like Italian wines, and so, you know, we would prefer, for example, on paper, Greek wines to Argentinian wines. Second, Greece is the #1 holiday destination for Polish tourists.
Really?
Yes, it's way over 500,000 tourists per year, and growing, because for a time it was Egypt, but because of the various problems in Egypt, political and safety, now Greece is #1. And I think it is a big advantage that producers aren't really realizing on the market. Of course, we need more wines, we need more availability, but I'm happy to say that the last couple of years is really a quantum leap in the availability, because before we only had, you know, just a few household names. We had Kyriani, we had Sandali, we had Sigalas, but a little bit patchy. And since about 2 years, it really is a big change. So, just yesterday, Tetramithos has just arrived for tasting.
Yeah, very good
But
ones.
before it was Ligas, which is quite an innovative name from Macedonia. I think Karanika is soon to
Karanika,
be
the sparkling wines.
imported. Sparkling wine soon to be imported. And then we have the more classic names like Sigalas and Kiriani and Yerovasiliou still represented here, and we are adding more and more. So it's still too little, really, to be a serious proposition, especially compared to Italy or France or Spain or Portugal. But it is changing, and I think it's giving our consumers a chance to really familiarize themselves with the styles and explore it a little bit more. We need more, and we need, of course, marketing and communication, which is nearly non-existent. We've done, I think, a couple of small events for Greek wines, but not nearly enough. And this is actually one thing that is really paying on the Polish market, because a success story really on our market is Germany, which has grown from a really small base to really being now one of the top exporters, and we have now become the 10th largest importer of German wines.
In how many years, Wojciech?
That has happened in about 6 or 7 years. But it was also a very consistent marketing effort. Wines of Germany have an office here, which is being very active in, for example, contacting journalists and bloggers and offering them various opportunities to educate and taste and travel. And this has been paying off on the communication side, because you are building this critical mass of knowledge that people can, transmit. And then, of course, there were other various targeted actions, for example, towards the on-trade. So, representing a good Riesling in every restaurant was a mission, and it has happened in very little time. And when we're talking about the on-trade, the restaurant scene in, at least in Warsaw, but also other large cities here in Poland, is super exciting. It's really very, very top-notch. We have chefs that are coming with experience from London, the Netherlands or France. They're really very well trained, but cooking, Polish food or reinterpreted Polish food, and then some other global inspirations. And I think Greek wine would really fit in many of these restaurants. The lighter reds and the whites would be super exciting. So we just need a little bit more here.
I remember a very nice restaurant that we ate in Warsaw.
Yes, Kieliszki.
Yeah, how was that? So, can you find Greek wine in some of the best restaurants in Poland, in Warsaw?
It's starting now. It is starting now. I think Tetramithos, which is imported by my friend Piotr Pietras, one of our two master sommeliers, is really going to be a game changer because of the penetration that Piotr has in the on-trade. Same going for Ligas, because Winemates, the importer, is also very well represented in the top restaurants. And I think many sommeliers are also looking at what is trending in the US and in the UK, the two trend-setting countries for sure for sommelier education. And we are seeing that Greek wines, especially Assyrtiko, but also Malagousia, also Roditis, also Robola, and also some of the red wines. They are trending and they are exciting because of their food versatility, and also it is something new. So it's not very easy to market and introduce another Italian wine, another Barolo label.
Yeah.
People don't drink Bordeaux. Of course, we're all excited with Burgundy and Champagne, but many customers, diners want to go beyond that and want to have something new. And I think Greek wine is super well positioned to really please everybody there, because again, it's not a niche, that it's really is a super diverse mainstream country. That's very important.
Okay, and this is a question I always ask. I asked Mark and Stefan, and what do you think Greek wine can do better? What are the areas that we can work that you think there are some weaknesses, and your thoughts on that?
Well, there would be many. I mean, you can discuss any country from that point of view. What is a strength in one area can become a weakness elsewhere. For example, we were talking about the diversity. Of course, it is a hindrance. Of course, it is a liability when you are trying to quickly, efficiently communicate the diversity of the country. If you look at Chile, for example, they've been simplifying the message that we have three climatic zones.
Yeah.
Greece cannot do this because it's just not possible. So but I think more could be invested in the marketing and explaining the country more easily to giving a primer. I'm also faced with this challenge when I'm trying to explain Greek wine to the elevator speech. What is really the essence? Then you can really simplify saying try these two styles, Assyrtiko and Xinomavro, but that's quite reductive. You want to be a little bit more inclusive, and I think maybe some innovative ideas from outside the wine world, from maybe from the marketing world, that doesn't always work. I mean, Hungary, they've been trying to hire a marketing company from outside the wine world, and it has backfired. It's been a disaster for Tokaj. It was just the wrong message. But I'm always thinking that it's good to think outside the box. I think there's some very conservative labeling in Greece. I think there's some improvement. There's some improvement, but I think some of the labels aren't really communicative, and they're not attractive. They're not new. But it's a point I could make about many other countries. I could say the same about Italy. But whenever producers ask me what they could do better, I'm thinking about labeling, and I'm telling them, go to a beer store. Look at the craft beers. They are just lovely packaged products. You want to buy all of them. Imagination. Just looking at the bottle.
Just by seeing that,
and also some of the innovation in the production, in the products. But of course, beer is far more flexible. So I think here is one point. Some of the grape varieties. Sometimes it would be great to put them more prominently on the label. I'm thinking about this. Why Xinomavro is not featured on this label? I mean, of course, Nausa is important as an appellation, but I think a lesson of the last few years is really that grape varieties are great vehicles for communication. Nausa is important, but Xinomavro is something broader, something more powerful, and I think something that consumers want to familiarize themselves with. So I'm seeing some change because you see Assyrtiko more often on some labels, but it would be great to showcase the grape varieties a little bit more together with the appellation, not instead, but together. Just some ideas.
What do you think about Assyrtiko outside Santorini? The examples that you have tasted, are they convincing?
They can be convincing. They can be very good. Can they be really great on the level of Great Santorini? I'm not sure yet, but I'm always giving the benefit of a doubt to these new interpretations because sometimes it just takes time. And we would be tempted to say nothing will ever surpass Santorini, which might be true. But it also might be a matter of still looking for the best terroirs and also for looking for the best winemaking adapted to the terroir, because it might be that you just need to maybe harvest a little bit earlier in some other site to have a more pithy, a more crisp, a lighter, a more transparent style of Assyrtiko. Why not? Because you see, Burgundy Chardonnay can be Chablis, but it can also be Meursault, and they are two different winemaking styles. Just adapting to the local conditions. So I think Assyrtiko hasn't had its last word in Greece, and I'm still looking to taste some other examples, maybe especially from the Aegean area, because I think transplanting Assyrtiko to the north of Greece, tasting some of the Macedonian examples has been very exciting. But I would like to see more. Why isn't there more in Crete, for example? That would be exciting to taste more Assyrtiko from Crete, because I think some of the climate is going to be more similar with Santorini, and even if the soil is slightly different, for example, the photosynthesis, the insolation, the sunny character, then translating into this very ripe, full fruity expression, almost tropical is going to give those wines an advantage. So, I think it is also the beauty of Greece that it's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8,000 years of winemaking tradition But the best is maybe still to come, and I'm looking forward to tasting more and more exciting examples of this grape.
That is the message. Having said that about what you said about Crete, it is growing everywhere now. I think there are a lot of producers, maybe 20 or more, I don't remember the number, and hectares are growing day by day because everyone now in Greece wants to have a little bit of an Assyrtiko.
Yeah.
So you understand, it's like being, it's the key variety, the flagship variety. So people are investing, and having tasted a lot of wines from all over the place, I think that winemaking is important. It can emulate a little bit of the terroir, and you can find exciting examples from the north to the south. And Crete, of course, is one of these places. Fantastic. So as the discussion rolls, I have to announce now something very, very important, something that we were waiting for some weeks. And this is the new dates for 50 Great Greek Wines, our new wine project to award the 50 best Greek wines. And this will take place, drums roll, September 9 to September 12. And then we'll have on September 29, we'll have our digital phygital event award. I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited to welcome judges, key judges, great personalities like Wojciech in this competition. Wojciech, what do you think about the new concept about 50 Great Greek Wines? You know the key ideas. I can summarize them briefly for the people that are watching. 50 Great Greek Wines awards only met prizes for the best 50 wines. So it doesn't matter if we have 500 samples or 1,000 wines participating, just 50 wines will be awarded, and these wines will be announced. Another I think, very important characteristic of 50 GGW is that we buy the wines via the market. We don't get the samples, we don't get the wines via the producers. And the third one is that when we taste the wines, something really important, and I want to be very strict on that, we know only the basic variety and the vintage. We don't know the price. We don't know the area, because if, in my mind, if it says Assyrtiko Santorini 50 euros, then you start thinking, oh, this should be something fantastic. And if it says Assyrtiko Crete 10 euros, then you say, okay, it can be good, but maybe not great. So it will say Assyrtiko 2017, 2018, 2019, just this information. And there are more things that we plan, doing things both in Greece and outside Greece to promote Greek wine with the way that we think it can be promoted, and add a little bit more pieces on the Greek wine puzzle. We're looking forward to have you in Greece.
Yes.
And taste and taste all these wines together with the other judges. Have you attended a competition or a wine project like this, Wojciech?
Thanks very much, Yanis. I'm really super excited to be part of this. I think it's a very innovative project. There've been small parts that remind me of some other competitions that I've attended. There was, now it's defunct, it doesn't work anymore, but there was a competition in Hungary called Panon Bormustra, which was, in the first part, it was a fairly traditional competition where you were just rating the wines on the OIV sheet. But then the last day was just selecting what they called the top wines from each category, which was white, red, and sweet. And then we were really just looking for the show, putting more energy into the tasting, because you weren't dissecting, the aroma and the flavor and trying to give those silly little OIV points. but you were really looking for something that is the best expression of a particular style and what is the message of Hungary to the world. So I think, you know, that's how I understand your intention, is just to have those very proud ambassadors of Venus Greece to the world, selected by a jury. I think it's going to be a tough competition for producers because there will be there are going to be no shortcuts, and they will also will be surprised with some of the outcomes, and we take the ones from the market. So no doctored samples, but also, you know, storage, things like this. There is a slightly random element which is emulating the consumer situation. I think it's going to be tough on the judges because you know, if we only know the grape variety, we just don't really have those little data points that sometimes help us interpret and understand the wine. So it's going to be a tough job for us. But I think in the end, we're really going to be focusing on the most important message. You know, this is the elite. This is what we think the world should taste to really get a taste, to really get a representation of Greek winemaking in 2020.
Okay, thank you for that. I think you've studied. You have read very well, although we discussed briefly the concept of 50 great Greek wines, but it is exactly this. And before we close our lovely discussion, I would like just to throw on the table two general topics that there is a lot of discussion. The first one, you know, we've seen the prices of wine skyrocketing in some wines. How can you explain a wine that contains liquid that at the end is grape juice that can cost 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros, 20,000 euros? What are your thoughts on this?
No, it doesn't make me very happy. You know, I think, of course, it's an ambiguity because we all wish wine producers very well, and we also want our wine regions and our wine communities to grow richer. And I think wine is leading the agricultural world towards a quality revolution because of the added value. So the added value of wine is really very important. And the added value of wine also comes with a message to the consumer, be prepared to pay more, because it is one of the most effective ways of wealth redistribution, if you pay more for the food that you buy. And wine is showing that it's possible. Also in maybe countries that people would think are less developed economically, I'm sorry, but such as Greece, yes, compared to powerhouses like California or Bordeaux. But, you know, 1,000 euros, I think, is going a little bit too far in excess, because then wine becomes a luxury product, and I don't think it's really drunk and appreciated as a food product. It becomes a status symbol. It becomes a collectible, it becomes a trophy, it becomes a speculation item. So all these things are getting us away from the terroir, away from the earth, away from agriculture, away from the communities that produce these wines, because they are not, the prices are not dictated by the communities, but, you know, probably by some wealthy owners, because very often rich wineries with great marketing can really afford to dictate those prices. So I think we need to be careful. You know, capitalism is good up to a point. I think we need some control, and I'm not talking about regulation, of course, but I'm talking about maybe some ethical control, you know, about some self-control. Yeah. And it would be good if the wine market was really thinking about the structural implications of these things, because we don't want Greece, any wine region in Greece or anywhere else in the world, to Napa-ize. We don't want more Napa valleys in the world. There's one, and I think that's already enough.
Having said that, I tasted this Sunday a fantastic wine from Napa Valley, and I was really again shocked by this one, which I think it has a very good price compared to what you get. It was a Corison, a Cabernet Sauvignon 2014, which was absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I said, wow, because when you taste, of course, a youthful Cabernet Sauvignon, usually you fight a little bit. You fight with the tannins, you fight with the acidity, But here you had a very elegant example that was so delicious. I was amazed. I said, bring me more Napa like this. And I was,
But it's not it's not $1,000, is it?
it's not, no, it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
It's close, 80, 90
Yeah,
euros,
yeah, yeah. So you see,
depends.
it's quite sensibly priced. Yeah.
Yeah, it is expensive,
Yeah.
but it is not outside my box, my reasonable box of having something unique and terroir driven. And this is a loaded question. Of course, you don't need to cover everything, but your ideas, your approach on the new trends, if it is low alcohol wine, natural wines, no SO2, how do you approach topics like this? This is what I want to get from Wojciech.
Again, I think it's an ambiguity because we know there is demand for these products and so there is supply. We know some of those styles are emerging from a very deep ethical convictions such as natural wines, and it's something you cannot play down. I think you need to be serious about some of the concerns that people have for the environment and for the low intervention styles. Then on the other side, low alcohol wines or no alcohol are very manipulated products very often, so it's quite the opposite. But I think there is a place for everything. There is a place for Thimiopoulos Nausa Alta with its slightly wild expression, and for some very technical Bordeaux blends coming from Greece. There is a place for a 16% Primitivo or Zinfandel, and for a de-alcoholized Riesling from Germany. I think we need to be open-minded, if there is a market for it, of course it's going to be produced. And I don't think it is, some of my colleagues are saying this is actually threatening the wine world with commodization, with over-technology. I don't think so. And again, take an inspiration from beer. Beer has not died because there is non-alcoholic beer being made since 40 years. And actually non-alcoholic beer has improved tremendously and is actually quite a nice drink these days, which it didn't used to be. And it's got its place also in life. If you have a morning run, then you're very happy to have a 0% beer just to refresh yourself after you do that. And it wouldn't be wise to drink alcohol. So the context, and I think there's a place for everything. And I'm quite relaxed about these things. On the other side, of course, I don't want these products to dominate the market. And as an example, I don't want all wine in the world to be natural tomorrow. I don't want to drink only amphora wine or only SO2 wine. Even when they are very well made, some of the macerated wines these days are super well made.
Let's have options. Let's have.
But I really like my high SO2, very technical Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc on one day of the week, and I want to have the choice, and I'm sure many people are looking at it like me. So these are trends and fashions. I think the good thing from every fashion is that something is staying with us. We are learning something from the fashion. We learned something from the Chardonnay fashion, and we learned something from the anything but Chardonnay fashion. And the result is that today we have the best Chardonnays made in history. So, I'm looking forward to the next step in evolution of the wine world. I'm always excited of what is going to be the next trend.
Fantastic. From anything but Chardonnay to absolutely brilliant Chardonnay, because this is the truth. Wojciech, Yamas, thank you very much.
Thank you, Yannis. That was great.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Looking forward to see you and the other judges in September, early September, to do the 50 great Greek wines, the part of the competition. I want to thank everyone that was involved with the Greek Wine Talks, because we do the grand finale today. 10 Greek Wine Talks in Greek and in English, with some very important people in the wine world and in Greece. I was thrilled to do that. It was challenging, and everything is uploaded on my channel in YouTube. Looking forward to see you again, and I would like to thank also Selini Restaurant for their support as a supporter of Greek Wine Talks. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Καλή συνέχεια. Thank you.
Ευχαριστώ, Yannis, for being such a great president for Greek wines.
See you soon.
Cheers.